Is your cup, your mug, ow, it's very hot. Your cup, your mug, your chalice, your glass, fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee, and join me in the simultaneous sip. All right, let's go. Oh, mm. First sip of the day. Okay, well, I have a really good excuse for missing the past two days. Um, I had a family member um, health emergency. I'm in a hospital. It's a really nice hospital. It's a great hospital. It's the University of Iowa hospital in Iowa City, and the people here are amazing, and I'm just so grateful. Um, it's been a very eventful 48 hours, um, and but everything's okay. So yeah, there's always so much to be grateful for. That's one thing. Like this morning, I woke up and I was looking for food, and I was wandering around, and I was wearing my favorite hat, which my daughter Isla made for me. Which this hat saved me last night, because it's also a pillow in a pinch. That's actually the name of the hat. So it works great as a pillow. I'll demonstrate. So there's the hat. It's a hat, but wait for it. Oh, see? Oh, it's so comfy. It's even got like a little pillow in it. So you can kind of see, like, she knitted it. You can see some of the thread. Um, anyway, somebody saw me wearing my hat, and I asked where the cafeteria was. And she said, oh, well, in order to get to the cafeteria, you have to, like, go down this elevator, and you got to go over here and there, and blah, blah, blah. But then she said, but you look like you're a safe person with that hat, so you can just come with me. So she took me across a skywalk that was like for nurses and doctors only. All because of my cool hat. So thank you, Isla. The hat continues to pay dividends. Okay. Anyway, um, my mother had some health issues, so I'm taking care of her. Um, and I saw my my brother and my sister also came, and my brother and my sister and we haven't always gotten along, although I want us to, because it's just so beautiful when we're getting along. Um, and we were working together, try to sort things out, and we were doing it. Last night we went to McDonald's and had some McChickens together, and it was just beautiful. Um, and my sister's been doing an amazing job. She's Part of the reason why is that she's had a lot of practice because she was just helping another family member who passed away in just months in the hospital. Just months. Um, and so she has a lot of experience with this. She knew what to do. Um, so that was really good because I don't have that kind of experience. But but anyway, I don't want to talk about that the whole time. But I thought I'd better give a good excuse because I really want to keep doing this. Um, I I've really enjoyed getting to know some Scott Adams community. Um, um, and well, I love having something in my routine where I can share something valuable um, that I believe to be valuable in real time. In real time with life. It's like if we're able to communicate authentically, honestly, openly, and then also connect with real life in a way that um, almost allows oneself to be expressed in a sense. Um, so if you're just being honest and open by yourself but in isolation and you're not reflecting on something that's particularly relevant to you or pressing to you, or like in the case of Scott Adams, what did he do? You know, he was reading the news every day, and so you got to see this connection between his mind and real world events, and I think that's really cool. I'm not like a huge news fan, like in the sense that a lot of the news isn't really all that valuable. And so I don't want to make a habit or a promise of talking about the news every day. Um, but I do want to share things that are very relevant to me, and my whole family shares quite a bit. We all started blogging. Mm, I should say we're like getting into it um, on weekwool.com. We've owned that URL for a long time, uh, maybe over 10 years now. Um, and so my daughters have a podcast too that they've been doing on a different channel with a bunch more subscribers. Um, and what do they talk about? You know, they talk about things that they think are relevant to them. And mm, and so so I think that the context is important. With Scott Adams, you had context. You knew where he was coming from. You know, having spoken to a number of his followers now. This is all after I found out that he passed away. I wish I had done more outreach beforehand, but people that had been reading his cartoons for years before he wrote his first book. I found Scott Adams shortly after he published his first book. Um, so So with Scott Adams, you know, kind of where he's coming from, you know, um, and so for him to read the news and then share his thoughts about the news, I think that's really cool, actually. Like in the sense that I think it made sense given what he was doing. He also became involved politically so quickly after he started doing these live streams. It might have even been in part because of him throwing his support. Although I'd say he was like more explaining for Trump back in 2015. Um, so that, by the way, I was not happy about. When I first found out about that, I thought, oh no, Scott Adams is not who I thought he was. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't really talk about politics very much these days, honestly. It's not really my forte. Mm. But um, but I do want to talk a lot about family. I want to talk about technology. Um, I want to talk about how parents trying to raise kids today, how they can try to go about navigating some really complicated questions. Questions around, um, well, what's the value of the education system that they're in? Is it really preparing them for real life? What are the other options? How do you have a good relationship with your kids? Why that's more important now than it was 10, 20 years ago. That's my opinion. Um, my family took a very different path, I'd say. Starting when the pandemic hit, my kids dropped out of school and never came back. They were 7, 10 years old at the time, and they started their own school called Weekwell School. You can look that up actually if you want. Same as the channel name Weekwell Family, but it was a school. And part of it was in person, but then once the lockdowns ended and their friends went back to physical schools, then they went online. And they did really well. They had nearly 1,000 students, and they were in national news. You can look at like Scripps National News did like a thing about them. Mm. So, so we took a very different approach to education, and now they're 13, 16 years old, and they're very powerful young ladies. So we're all sharing quite a bit about, um, I'd say mostly just trying to share as much as it makes sense to do so, share our honest reflections about what we're trying to do with our lives. Just, um, yeah, I think Scott Adams was right about so much. I've been really amazed. I'm just seeing some of the comments here. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, my daughter made me this hat, my 13-year-old. I was sharing earlier, there's a pillow inside, so it's extra comfy. And I'm in a hospital here, as you can see. So I had to sleep in the hospital. Good thing I had this hat, because, like, check this out with this hat. If you lean back like this, you can just sort of like, and then it serves as a pillow on your head. So it's called Pillow in a Pinch. And yeah, it's a little weird, but I don't mind. I got a big personality, so it's like a nice warning sign to people. Like, warning, this guy's got a big personality, but it's pink. So hopefully they it's generally like a chill vibes kind of thing going. Mm, mm. So anyway, so I'm not gonna be like nobody can replace Scott Adams. I kind of envision that a lot of people are trying to make sense out of what it was that he was trying to teach people, and thinking about ways that they can take that energy and use it to pay it forward. I feel like I could be very helpful in um, brainstorming with people about what that means. Because part of my work involves helping entrepreneurs that I use the phrase passion driven, but when they have an emotional drive towards something that's really powerful, but they're not really sure how to take it and make it practical or make it productive or make it useful to other people necessarily. That can be really hard. I'm pretty good at that. More the brainstorming, thinking through. I have lots of ideas. Half of them are bad, but that's why you want to have lots of ideas. You know. But yeah, Scott Adams. He had a particular way of going about it that I think made a lot of sense for him. And also just having such a large, diverse audience. Like, you can speak to a large, diverse audience about the news every day. It almost becomes like, instead of trying to just go through the news and process it yourself, if you trust his judgment to try to comb through things and bring up what's most important, then it can be both entertaining and informative. So I think that's great. My issue with the news is that the news tends to have a very short half-life in terms of how valuable the information is. So if you think about like, well, what was in the news a month ago? How important was it to learn whatever it was that was in the news a month ago? Did it impact your life? That would actually be a really good way of thinking about it. Was it actionable? Were you able to take action from it? Mm. Mm. So I um, I think if it's not actionable, then it's really more entertainment than it is informing you about anything in particular, specifically referring to the news. So I looked at a lot of what Scott was doing as being more like entertainment, and which is fine. But I want to be helpful in a way that's maybe a little bit more on the domestic side, maybe more on like the family side. Been married 20 years, I have 2 daughters that are teenagers now. Kind of past like the need to do any parenting per se. Um, and a lot of what we talk about is the nature of how to change how we're approaching things because reality is changing. Like it's really hard to prepare, it's hard to justify preparing young people for reality today using the public education system primarily as like the tool to prepare them, because like a lot of what they need is to practice agency, freedom, autonomy, creativity, collaboration, communication. Um, and I don't really see kids learning that in school. So if you're not learning that in school, for a kid, that's a full-time job. That's 40 hours a week. And then when they're in high school, if they're trying to get into college, then that's like 50, sometimes even 60 hours a week, some of these kids. And that's just a lot. That's just a lot of work. And if they're doing all that it's not so much like, oh, we'll supplement with some other things. It's more that if young people are embedded in an environment where they're not able to choose their own goals, and they're not really incentivized or awarded for having their own independent evaluation of their goals, then they're not going to be able to learn agency very well. Because of course in school, you have a teacher giving someone the goal and expecting them to simply do whatever they're told, and then outsource back to the teacher an evaluation of whether or not they achieve that goal. So you're kind of losing the two sides of agency that young people really need to be steeped in order for them to be able to develop independent free will and agency, a creative mind to evaluate for themselves what it is that they think is meaningful to pursue, and then knowing how to go out and get feedback from the relevant people that they're trying to create value for, to try to triangulate whether or not they're heading in the right direction. I mean, it's really hard to learn how to think for yourself, but you're not going to learn if you're prevented from doing that in the first place, which seems to be a lot of what schools do. Mm. But so that's one thing that I'll want to talk about probably. And again, because that's what's on my mind inside this ginormous hat. Um, I will talk about politics sometimes, but I'll talk about politics when there's actually news and it's important because the world changed. So like when Trump did when he basically captured the president slash dictator of Venezuela, that was news. That was news. The relevance of that event is just as relevant today as it was when it happened. That's how you know it's really news. Um, Thank you. I'm seeing comments about the hat. Yeah, my 13-year-old daughter made this hat. Love this hat. You can actually, if you want to, you can see other pictures and other hats at her website, which is pillowinapinch.com. Um, it's I'm not really trying to like drive traffic to her website. I think part of what she really loves about it is that she's not pressured to do anything, and it's just really fun. So don't buy one unless you like really want it, because then she has to make them by hand, and I'm not really sure how many of these she wants to make. Although she does make them pretty quick. Like you can see how thick the yarn is. It doesn't take. I think it takes her like a couple, maybe 2-3 hours, maybe. I'm not really sure. Because she's got to make the pillow on the inside. And then she also needs to like size the head a little bit. Some people have, slightly smaller heads. Although, I don't know, it's so stretchy. It kind of fits anybody without too much trouble. Mm. Oh boy. Well, I should probably get back to my mother. And we're going to be talking to some doctors and just making sure that she's getting better. But I wanted to check back in with all the simultaneous sippers here. And I'm really going to try to keep this going. I enjoy doing it. I think it's valuable to do. I want to try to meet other Scott Adams fans and people that are thinking about what it means to pay it forward for them. Like I've obviously been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that for a while. doing something kind of like what Scott was doing, in the sense of coming on and live streaming and not worrying about a bunch of fluff. Just try to be myself, talk about my life, the decisions that I'm making, try to help the people that might be in a similar situation to what I'm in or where I've been. Um, that's that's one way that I want to try to pay it forward. But if you have thoughts on how to pay it forward, or if you'd like to connect with me, then just say so in the comments. In case you can't tell from the big hat, I'm very extroverted, and I especially like meeting Scott Adams people. Man, his debris is the best debris. Um, it's a real pleasure. There's something about him that to Scott Adams.